Hello and welcome to another episode of Pathways to Thriving. I'm here with Azlin Arshad, who's agreed very kindly to be interviewed today. I met Azlin through Siti Fatimaos, whom I interviewed a few episodes ago. I got to know Azlin a little bit over a chat at Tim Hortons where we talked quite a bit over coffee. So
Yes.
welcome, Azlin.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you for having me.
And I was thinking maybe we could start by you introducing yourself to the viewers. Tell us who you are, what you do or used to do.
Who am I? I'm a mother of three. I've been married for over 27 years now. I've been working all this while since 1996 when I graduated. And now I'm just taking a bit of a career break. Where I've been in terms of my career, various places, various industries. I started out in corporate finance and investment banking.
Wow.
And I was doing that for I think almost 20 years. And then from corporate finance, it sort of like expanded to debt capital markets, private equity investments, etc. Then I took my first career break. It was, I think, at that time I thought it was a career break, and then my mom decided, oh, you're not doing anything, right? So please come help me run my cafe.
Oh, wow.
So, had my last day at work on Friday, and on Monday I was already at the cafe.
So much for a break.
So much for a break, I can tell you. Yeah, so much for a break. And you know what? It was hard work. As much as banking was very long hours, I think for banking it was a lot of mental fatigue, right?
Yes.
But when you run a cafe, it's physical fatigue.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I was doing everything end to end. It was a small cafe, it was nothing big, a small cafe. But still, my mother had set the standards. She set that standard for what the food should taste like, how it should be presented. She would check on me.
Oh, wow.
She would check on the food.
Was she like a Gordon Ramsay?
Yeah. I think scarier.
Oh no! Oh wow!
She would come in, she'll check the food. But I did that for almost a year. And I would be up at 6 something in the morning, run to the market, get the ingredients, because we were very particular about things being fresh.
Okay.
So it was, I guess the fancy word for it would be procurement. But basically went to the market and bought all the stuff and all the ingredients, between the wet market and NSK. And then getting ready for the customers to come in from 11:30 onwards. And then, just cooking, serving, standing at the cashier and making sure that, the money was properly accounted for, because it was a cash business.
Yes,
we didn't have, we were not using cards at that point in time. So it was very physically demanding. It was a lot of running around. Oh, I lost weight at that time. It was so good.
Not that you.
So and then we would close at, I think it was like 8:30 or 9. And I think it was really, really good experience for two things, right? Number one, for me, I had never been in an environment where I was dealing with retail customers or consumers directly, right? I was doing corporate finance, I was doing investment banking.
So there was a buffer, right? Yeah.
Huge buffer, right? Because I was dealing with senior management of corporates. I was dealing with directors of corporates, stakeholders. So very, 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 very different, right? It wasn't about what the man on the street was wanting, or what the man on the street was, what their preferences were. So that was one thing. That was where I think I had greatest exposure there, I would say. Direct feedback from consumers is no joke, okay?
Because you're no more the expert at this point.
No more the expert at this point, number one, and no filters when you get feedback, right? And then I think secondly, right, was how very important it was to actually work with a team where you really needed to be in sync. Right. Because you're taking orders here, you're practically shouting or barking it back and making sure that the orders are coming out, making sure that it's delivered to the right table, that sort of thing. So team camaraderie, that and consumer, dealing with consumer preferences and how
Yeah.
that's ever changing,
Yeah.
very fragmented, very
Yeah.
fickle.
Yeah.
Two biggest lessons that I learned from there.
So huge lessons during a purported career break.
Yes.
And what came out of that whole
What came out from that, again, it was a little bit unexpected. So after about almost a year of doing it, I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm not going back to, corporate.
All right.
I'm going to do this.
Okay.
So I was actually at a point where I was looking at expanding and wanting to open another branch or another outlet. And I was actually in talks with my younger brother to say, look, if I do this, you got to manage the other outlet, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because we have to, I do have to rely on family to do
Yes.
this the way my mother relied on family,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And he said, okay, let's take a look at it. But it was quite funny, So my mom was always coming in and was always checking,
Yeah.
right? But I think she then felt that, there's now nothing for her to do because unfortunately, and I think maybe that was my mistake, right? I forgot that I was helping her. I forgot that I didn't own the business, and I forgot that this is her business. And I kind of like went in and I sort of like just overtook it. It's like, Mom, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I just completely took over, so that's another lesson learned indirectly, right?
Yeah.
You got to be mindful, of things like that. And that's when I was thinking of opening another outlet and not going back to corporate, when my father came to me and said, I think you should go and look for a job, go back
Right.
and work,
Right.
and give the cafe back to your mom.
Wow.
I was like, oh, okay, no negotiation, no discussion.
This is it on a plate.
This is it, right? It was not like take it or leave it. It's like take it. So
Is it like I'm going to make you an offer?
No,
that you can't say?
yeah, no, it wasn't even making an offer. It's like I'm telling you, So, and then that's kind of like a lot of emotions at that point in time.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest fear was, oh my God, I took a year off. Is it going to be easy for me to find a job? And at that time when I left, my job a year before that, I was group CEO of ECM Libra.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, small company.
Mm-hmm.
We had sold the investment bank by that time. So, the business that we were doing was mainly private equity and investments. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do now, right? Because one thing I knew for sure though,
Yes.
ni nak go back to the corporate world, tapi fussy kan? No, I don't want to do investment banking, right? It's terrible. But I thought to myself, no, I didn't want to go back into investment banking because of the experience that I had running my mom's cafe, which was, hang on a minute, I don't want to be at the board level or dealing with boards, and like we're so far from the man on the street.
Yeah.
So I felt that I wanted to do something which was a lot closer to that, number one. Number two, I also felt that no, now I want something where, which was a lot more entrepreneurial.
Yes.
Where I wanted to run a business.
Okay.
Okay. Rather than just run deals.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Alhamdulillah, when I sent out my CV, to a corporate friend, that CV got sent to his corporate friend, and then Astro called me and said, hey, we got your CV, so can you come in for an interview? So when I went for the interview, they were talking about a position more like in the sort of like corporate finance.
Okay.
And I actually said, terrible, right? Got opportunity for interview, and then I was like, actually,
What I want.
what I would like is to not be on this part of the fence. I would like to run a business. And then they said, if that's the case, then we have this portfolio where actually the head of that portfolio was leaving.
Wow.
And it was the Enjoy business at that time. So,
Right.
many years back, Astro had the Enjoy business. It was the prepaid version of satellite TV.
All right. Okay.
I don't know whether you remember it. So basically, we were selling it by channels.
Right.
So you pay, I can't remember the price. I think it was like maybe 5 ringgit. So it's like 5 ringgit for 3-day access to say Astroria.
All right. Okay. Okay. Like a pass kind of a thing.
Yes, that's right. That's like a pass. So they said, it was that, or I think there was another position. and this is again terrible of me, right? So the other position was at that time I think it was in Go Shop.
Okay.
But that was a position reporting to the CEO, and this position, which was Enjoy, which was a much smaller portfolio, because Go Shop was huge, right? Enjoy was still a small portfolio. And they said, oh, but you'll be running it, right? You'll be the CEO of this, and it's like, this is your business to run. So I'm like, oh, that one, please, thank you very much.
Yes.
So I did that, and that was, again, it opened up, other experiences.
Yeah.
When I took that on, that's when I was also exposed to marketing.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Marketing, digital marketing. I was exposed to content marketing.
Wow.
Wow. Small team. We were a very small team. When we started out, we were only like 4 or 5 of us.
Nice.
And then I grew that business after 2 years, and it was a team of, I think, about 12 by the time I left.
Wow.
And but that was again another great experience. And this was really, really fun. Yeah, I have to tell you the story. So when I was being interviewed, so at that time, the CEO of group CEO of Astro was Dato' Rohana.
Okay.
And it was also Henry. I think Henry was the COO. So they were both interviewing me, and it was really funny because, when I said that I had expressed interest in Enjoy, so I had to pass them, right?
Yes.
So at that time it was just like HR.
Yeah.
So now I had to meet them, and they said, well, actually, we were a little bit concerned, that you had never had any experience, like your working experience didn't have, it was in boards, etc. Like what I mentioned earlier. And then they said, oh, but we noticed that, you ran the cafe for a year.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. So I told them the story, and they said this to me, right? Well, in not so many words. They didn't say this to me exactly in these words, right? But I could read between the lines. So like, okay, we are taking a chance on you.
Yes.
Right? Because you've never done this sort of work before. You've been in investment banking, kind of cushiony, so to speak, right?
Yes.
And this is like, retail, Enjoy, completely different market segment.
Very hands-on.
Very hands-on, right? And a market segment which was not postpaid. It was not postpaid Astro.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So these were lower income households.
Yeah.
But what they said to me was that, okay, but because you worked in the cafe and you ran the cafe and you dealt directly with consumers.
Yes.
Okay, so this is where we think we can take a chance with you. So and I told them this story, to sort of like make them even more confident that this was the right decision to hire me, right? And I said, well, I get it. I said, but I think one of the other things that helped me or helped to prepare me to run the cafe as well and dealing with the consumers was this, I think, looking back. And none of this was planned, right? It's just on hindsight, when you think about it, how I kind of like adapted rather quickly.
Yeah.
So even when I was in investment banking in corporate finance, right from my earlier days, right? So yes, I was an executive.
Yeah.
But I was very close with all the clerical clerical team.
Yeah.
Was very close to my dispatch team.
Right. Okay.
All
the operational people. And
I mean, once upon a time, we were all very spoiled, where we didn't type our own papers.
Oh wow! Okay.
So we would literally, right? Oh God, no! It's like, wow, this is like walk down memory lane, man. Because we would have to prepare papers, right, for submissions to Securities Commission, to Bursa, right? They're thick, right? And in order for all of that to be a lot more efficient, we had a clerical team, right? So this is terrible, but sometimes we just cut and paste.
Well,
and then like, rider A, rider B put here, that sort of thing. So we would then do sort of like that scrapbook of materials. And we would hand it over to the clerical team. And then it came back to us all nicely typed out.
Nice.
Right? So we had to make sure that, we had to make sure the clerical team was happy, man. Because if they were not happy, your papers aren't going to come back to you.
That production bit stops right there.
You kind of go to the end of the queue, I was very close to my clerical team. I was always dealing with them. And then I was close to the dispatch team. Because the dispatch team, they were very strict. And this was actually the same from one bank to the next.
Yeah.
Dispatch goes out at 10:30 and 3:30. If you miss it, sorry lah, you wait for the next one, right? So sometimes I'll be like, it's 3:25 and I'll call the dispatch team. I was like, you tunggu I punya document, you jangan keluar sampai you dapat, you tunggu.
Means you wait, don't go.
That's right. It's like, you just wait for my document, don't go out until you have my document because it has to go out today, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at that time, we were not emailing stuff
Yeah.
to regulators.
Yeah.
Everybody got hard copies, right? And we needed to show the stamp that it was received on this date so that, for announcement purposes, we can say that it was delivered, etc., right?
Acknowledgement.
And I would also be close to the drivers of the bosses.
Because
I'm like, okay, bos kat mana ni? Sebab I kena cari bos, sebab bos kena sign, kena sign document ni, So because we couldn't sign off documents for submission,
So
we
you
needed to get
know
our
where
bosses.
the bosses
So I
were.
needed to know where the bosses were, right? Because it was just balancing and sort of like putting the jigsaw puzzle together.
Yeah.
Because as far as the client is concerned, you need to submit it. Well, as far as they wanted it yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And you're juggling a couple of assignments at the same time.
At the same time.
You're literally also juggling your boss's meeting schedules.
Gosh.
Right? So it was like that. So I think because I was dealing also a lot with the clerical, the dispatch team and the drivers, I would sometimes sit down at the lobby after they've driven the bosses back to the office. They'll be downstairs smoking, and I'll just like sit down and join them. I don't smoke, but I would sit down and join them, and I was like, you bawa bos pergi mana, that kind of, so just
Getting
chit-chat.
to know,
Getting to know them, and then we would chit chat. So those kind of chats that you have, right, from different walks of life. I think orang Melayu kata sedikit sebanyak, has helped you.
Do you want to explain that? How that works?
That works. I'm going to try and explain that in English, right? I think it's a little experiences, the little,
things that
the
add
little
up.
things that add up. Meeting with people, having a random chat. Whether it's short, whether it's long. You don't realize actually how much your brain sort of like absorbs and processes it, and it's amazing. I think when even many years later, you're going through another particular experience, and then it just connects. So that's how it's been like for me.
I want to ask you this because you said a couple of things. You said quite a lot of things, but there were two things that I really wanted to go back to. The first is actually that you took a career break. I think for us, a lot of us, especially in the Asian culture, this is seen as a do not do. Ever, right? It's seen almost like a career suicide kind of thing. And the second, you talked about stepping away from that ivory tower almost and wanting to come down and do something a little bit more hands-on. So it sounds like you started pushing the boundaries for your own self in a particular way. I can't imagine the decisions were easy. I'm wondering where you got that drive, that mental strength. What was the inspiration behind this?
I think, for my career break, to be perfectly honest, I think 5 years before that career break, I think it was about, was it 5 years? No, maybe a little bit longer than that. 10 years. I think it was about almost 10 years. Between 5 to 10. So at that time I was in Maybank Investment Bank. Right? So at that time I was maybe in my early to mid 30s, maybe early 30s. I think I was early 30s. And at that time actually I was like desperate for a career break. I think at that time what drove me to want a career break at that time was actually burnout.
Wow.
Because I remember there was one time, work was just piling on, and it came to a point where there was one day I remembered, and I didn't have a drive. I mean, the company did not have a driver for me at that time. Only the bosses had drivers, so it's like like kuchi rat slave kind of thing, and there was one particular day. And I had meetings lined up. And then my boss was just like, oh, you need to attend also this meeting. Oh, and then you have to attend this signing ceremony. And, you know, you're like going from one end of KL to PJ, and, you know, it was like that. It was a zigzag of meetings for that day. And then you know, there was another one where I thought, okay, then another one came in. So that made it a schedule of 7 meetings.
Oh, wow.
You know, and I had to rush from, again, KL, PJ, KL, PJ.
Yeah.
And I said, and then she called me and she said, oh, you know, I need you to attend this meeting.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, cannot say no, right? Cannot say
boss,
no.
yeah.
Cannot say no to my boss. So it's like, okay, and I remember this very, very clearly to this day, right? I remember I was on the phone. At that time, we still had phones on our desks. And
there were no Zoom meetings, so I can only imagine, yeah.
And I remembered I was, so where I sit, my desk faces the entire team, right? And I was talking, and I remember turning around so that my team couldn't see me. And I'm like, I said, and I just almost broke into tears. I said, fine. I said, I'll attend this meeting. And I said to her, because we were short-handed actually with senior staff. I said, but you really have to find another team head. I said, I cannot do this anymore, you know? And she was like, I know, but I need you to attend the meeting.
Okay, that's not an exercise in empathy, but okay, yes.
You know, and so I attended the meetings for that day and all that. So I remembered the following, I think it was the following weekend or the weekend after that, I happened to sit down with my mum. Yeah. At that time, my mum was in her head, she was planning about opening up the cafe.
Right.
So then I said, I'll run it for you. Thinking that was my break, you know, that I was going to get. And at that time, both my parents, you know, talking excitedly about opening the new cafe. But when I said, oh, okay, good, I can, you know, I'll run this for you. They just both they stopped short, silence. They turned to me and they said, what are you talking about? It's my dad, because remember my dad's face and my mom's face, you know, like, what are you talking about? So then I, you know, told them what happened. And I was really not spending much time with my kids.
Right.
You know, I mean, I would see them every night, but sometimes they were already in bed.
Yeah,
I would leave in the morning and they're not awake. You know, so it was like, sort of like in and out.
Not
the
the
kids.
quality kind of like.
Not the quality time. And sometimes when I look at some of my memories of them, they're a blur.
Oh,
seriously,
wow, okay.
And thank God for my husband, right? He was the one, he was doing all the school runs. He sent them to school. He picked them up from school. And I remember there was one time I was with him to send one of the kids. So there was some school event. You know, all these mums and dads and teachers were all saying hello to him. It's like they didn't know
nobody knew you.
Nobody knew me, you know. I was like, well, maybe they thought you were a single father or something like that, you know. So I was very lucky there.
Yeah. Sounds like a wonderful support. Yeah.
Very, very wonderful support.
Yeah.
Great support there. Couldn't have done it without him. You know. And then but my parents were like, so I said, you know, first one, you know, all the stuff that was happening at work. And then secondly, and I thought this would be the one that would melt their hearts. I said, and you know, I was like, I really want to take care of the kids. I want to spend more time with the kids. You know? And they were like, no, you don't worry about your kids. We are here. What are you talking about that you want to take a career break? You know, and I was like, yeah, but it's hard. It's tough. It's like, life is hard. Just deal with it.
Wow. So the response to, I mean,
again, no negotiation.
Yeah, but this is the interesting part. Like even as how we've kind of progressed as humanity. Nowadays, you could probably talk about something like burnout, and people would know this is burnout. You probably have 1 or 2 people who understand. Not enough people, but and no disrespect to, you know, the older generation or whatever. It's what they were taught to do, right? Just keep going.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep going. And you know, to be fair to them, I think they also knew me very well. Right?
Yes.
Enough that they said, okay, I can still push you now.
Yes.
So anyway, so I continued working and then I switched jobs. And then, so it was the next time when I, like I said, it was like maybe 8-10 years later, right? The one where I took took then the career break, and then my mom said, yeah, okay, run my cafe. So you don't know whether it was just good timing because she needed somebody to run the cafe. She needed a break.
She needed a career break.
I'll be thinking back about in terms of what my dad's reaction was, I think he wasn't completely happy.
Okay.
But I think he said, okay lah, how old was I at that time? Late 30s, I think. No, what am I talking about? I was 40, I think, 40, 41, something like that lah, 41, 42. Yeah, so, so compared to an sort of like early to mid 30s wanting a break, versus a 40 something wanting a break, I think he said, okay lah, I now have some empathy for you.
But it took so long. It took so long for you to get to that point where
it did. Yes, right. In a way, I had to also prove to my parents, right, that I did. I did go back to the grind, and not that I came crying after that. Shortly after that, it's quite a number of years, so at that time he said, "Yep, okay." So at that time, I think I didn't have pushback. So you were asking about what drove me to take that career break, whether given the tabooness behind it, because career suicide, etc. But I think also at that time, I felt it was right for me.
Yes.
So things were kind of like lined up. Because yes, I was very busy in the investment bank, but then after that, we sold the investment bank.
Right.
And then the business was different. So I did what I needed to do. For 2 years after that. So there was sort of like how shall I say it? The kind of activity that I was used to working in the corporate world, in investment banking for many, many years, that had been sort of like, slowly slowing down.
So kind of like a space opened up in that sense. Yes, a space opened up.
So I was like, and in a way, I felt that the company didn't need me.
Yes.
There wasn't really, a team that I had to nurture anymore, like during the investment banking days. So that in a way, sort of, it just kind of like opened up.
So I want to ask you this, because the first time you took your career break, it took you 10 years to get to your career break, right? You kind of started feeling the burnout, the thing, or you might have just wanted some change, and it took you almost 10 years to achieve that.
Yeah.
I know at the moment, because of our conversation behind the scenes, that you are sort of on a career break now.
Yeah.
Has that been another long wait, or has it been easier to get to this point?
Completely different.
Okay.
Completely different circumstances.
All right.
I didn't think I was going to take another career break before I retired.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Did not think it at all.
Yeah.
And I think that, so this is almost again another 10. Oh my God, this is like 10-year cycle thing. Come to think of it, right? Because that was 10 years ago. This time it was very different.
What was the difference?
Okay, number one, like I said, I wasn't thinking of a career break at all. Actually, if anything, I thought to myself, okay, will I retire earlier than 60?
Oh,
like,
right.
would I retire at 55 instead of 60, right? Or anything in between that.
Yeah.
So that was the kind of like the only thing I was talking about when it came to my career. But this time around, I'll be very frank, I felt that I still had a lot of drive. To still continue being in the corporate world.
Yeah.
I changed industries again.
Wow.
So from Astro,
Yeah.
so I was in Astro for a total of about 5 years. And from Astro, I went to insurance, to Takaful, actually.
Okay.
And by now, I would have, from the time that I had just stopped work a couple of months back, would have been about 3 to 3.5 years in the Takaful industry.
Okay.
So this time, it didn't start off with wanting a career break.
Okay.
This time it was about, when you get to a certain senior level and you're working with your bosses, I think it's very important to have that camaraderie between the senior teams, right? And I think for me this time it was just something that was not there
Okay.
for me.
Okay.
And I think this is where I realized that actually I have been very spoiled my entire career. I didn't realize that I had actually gotten very used to actually quite a certain type of leadership style.
Right.
I didn't realize that
Right.
until, very recently. Because I think no matter how, no matter what, from the time that I first started work in 1996, right? I had a boss. Her name is actually Anita too.
Oh wow! Say hello to all the Anitas.
And how she started me out in corporate finance. Again, this is, very, very vivid memory, right? Fresh graduate.
Yeah.
I did accounting and finance, but I didn't remember anything of it.
This sounds familiar, but on a parallel level, nothing to do with accounting for me.
So I sat at my desk on my first day in the corporate finance department. At that time, it was called Amana Merchant Bank.
Yeah.
And she came with, obviously we had been introduced. And I sat down at my desk, and then she came and she had this like big file. She just like dropped it on my desk. I was like, oh, private placement, submission in 3 weeks, go find out how it's done and get it done. And then left, and just literally like left me to it.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, whatever it is, I had the comfort that, okay, if I'm stuck, I can go to her, for guidance. And that was kind of like what's always been like for me. I was left to do the job.
Yeah.
And I was also always, I felt, hired to, with enough trust.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In the experiences that I've had to be able, to have opinions, my own opinions, my own perspectives of things. And I think, and this is me, nothing to do with anybody else, but I think when you also get to this age with the experiences behind you, you also, you're very, very confident in your convictions.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then when you start to realize that those convictions clash,
Yeah.
you don't want to be disruptive to how the company is run otherwise.
Yeah.
And, so for me, I felt the best thing was for me to take my leave.
I really appreciate you sharing that, because I think it's something that not enough people talk about. Even as a young person, you were given this autonomy.
Yeah.
And I understand exactly what you mean about being spoiled, because I feel that that's the kind of thing I had. I was never micromanaged. There was a lot of grace shown in, even when I made mistakes, I didn't have like a file come flying at me. A lot of my friends had that experience. But I think it creates, I don't know whether an expectation or almost like I don't know. It's like it creates this idea of the kind of leader, the kind of place that you want to work in, where you are seen as a whole person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
I think it's that to be very honest, I think the ability to put trust in someone that you have hired. Actually, I realize it's maybe not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not.
Because you don't know this person from Adam, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's different from being friends from when you were young, or having had the benefit of working together from our early days, where you kind of like screw up and get away with it because we have such great senior managers who's there to have our back, to be our safety net. And actually, that's what all my bosses taught me.
Or
right?
a strong referral that I can trust this.
So so I'm that's why for me, right, when we talk about trust at work, yes, the trust is there, but I realize that it's actually not easy. It is not as prevalent as we would assume it to be. And sometimes people say, look, the higher up the corporate ladder you go, you actually have to be you have to trust more and more and more people.
Yeah, yeah.
But then we forget, right?
Yeah.
The flip side of that is that, oh my God, but the higher up you go,
Yeah.
I think there is a feeling, you talk about the Ivory Towers, oh
Yeah.
my God, am I so far away from it
Yeah.
that if something is going wrong, I don't know, and therefore I need to come down and
Yeah.
make sure that that doesn't happen, right?
Right.
And it's tough,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
tough.
yeah.
People like to say things prevention is better than cure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a lot
Yeah.
of corporate leaders,
Yeah.
like to talk about, you've got to let people make mistakes, because that's where the
Yes,
great ideas
yes,
will come,
yes,
right?
yeah.
Don't curtail people to be so afraid of being
Yeah.
making mistakes that they
Yeah.
then lose their creativity.
Yeah.
It's a very, very fine balance.
And I noticed this this fear. I don't know whether it's more prevalent in our culture, because I think especially this side of the world, there's this bit of shame culture as well. You don't want to lose face, right? We say that.
Yeah.
Right. We don't want to lose face, and people are generally a bit afraid of saying something and not getting not being validated or supported. But even as I say this, I think that maybe it's kind of prevalent all over. But how do we stop ourselves from succumbing to that? How do we bolster ourselves?
Okay, so I think I mentioned about having convictions,
Yes.
and being able to you are so strong in your convictions.
Yeah.
But not just for the sake of being a rebel, right?
Yes.
But you are strong in your convictions because of the experiences that you have had.
Yeah.
So this is not something which is superficial when you talk about your own convictions, right? It's because of the experiences that you have had, the things that you have gone through.
Yeah.
Your
core beliefs.
Exactly, right? It's a combination of that. You're right. Your core beliefs, as well as the experiences that you've had. Because sometimes you also, you are also in a position where you will just believe it, but you may not have seen it, you may not have done it.
True,
right?
yeah.
So it's a combination of the two, I think. And from that, that's where you have to ask yourself, okay, what is my own confidence level?
Yeah.
And I think that is something which is different from person to person, right?
Yeah.
One of the biggest things, I think, two things I think for confidence. One, this one I read it in a book, and also because through some of my leadership programs that I had attended before. It's like, confidence comes from doing things over and over again.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But not doing things, but my own, how I add to that quote, right, is doing things over and over again, but not doing things perfectly each time.
Right.
Because you learn from your mistakes.
Yes.
And that one is something that I really believe in. You really, really learn from your mistakes, right? And then the other one is the support of the people around you.
Yeah. Your network, right?
My first network of confidence, or my first net of confidence is my family.
Yeah.
My husband, my kids, my parents especially, my siblings, my extended family, and then my friends and people, my acquaintances who became very good friends, so it's those two things, right? Because whatever it is, I think as a person, as a human, the self-doubt is always there. It never goes away.
Imposter syndrome.
And to be honest, I don't think it's about it being a syndrome. I think it's actually quite normal to have self-doubt. My mom told me the story once a long time ago. She said, actually, I didn't feel like I was an adult until I turned 50. She said that to me a long time ago. Of course, at that time, I wasn't 50, right? And now, I'm already past 50 now. I'm like, oh God, is it going to be 60 before I feel like an adult? Because I'm like, we forget. We forget that we're this age now, but it's it's something that you just have to mentally, I think, keep on telling yourself a lot of belief in God and trusting that God has planned things out for you already, and as long as you're doing something in good faith, and just God, family, and your your ability to be able to just keep on doing things.
Yeah, that's
Because one of the things that I also learned when you talk about confidence, right? How are you confident of the decision that you've made when you may not have all of the facts?
Yeah.
You may not have seen everything. You're only seeing things on paper. You're not there on the ground, right? And I think the only way to do that is at some point or another you were on the ground.
Yes. Yeah.
And you have seen enough on the ground. Could be 5 years ago, could be 2 years ago, could have been something that you did last week.
But I think it's important to also, like, if you're starting something up at the first point, and if you've not had prior experience to that, past experience may not be a factor in this. No. I work with a lot of clients in my coaching who struggle with moving forward. But the fact that they've come for coaching is because they want to take that next step and they want to do this. So I feel that there's that they're working towards, building themselves up. There's a recognition and awareness of what's going on. And hey, I need some support. I need something to hold on to do this. But it's essentially getting there, and
it takes time. I think that's one thing that we have to remember.
Yes.
So when I joined one of my other companies in my later years, and my boss and I looked at him, right, and we would discuss deals and proposals, just in proposal stages, and I would share it with him, and he would look at one page of the proposal details, and not even the 5-6 pages that came after that, which had a lot more details. And he'll just look at it. I'm like, he will say things like, and then he will say, intuitively, I don't think so. And this happened a lot.
Oh,
right?
No.
But he would be right.
Okay.
His intuition was, and I remembered at that time, right? And this was early on when I first started working with him. And I remember telling myself, how the hell does he get this intuition? Where does this intuition come from? Are you born with it? Are you, magically? It's a trait that only comes on, that only a few people have. But then this is what I realized. Okay, number one, I had a goal.
Yeah.
My goal was, okay, I need to be able to trust my instincts.
Yes.
Okay, so that was one thing. Right? The first thing is that was my goal. So then there were two things that I knew had to come from that. Firstly, I observed him.
Okay.
I would observe him, and when he says, and if his intuition would say this or would say that, I listened to him.
Yes.
Because in the first place, I didn't have, much conviction in terms of whether we go this way or that way.
Okay.
So, and that was my problem, right? I didn't have any, I was like, I don't know, you decide kind of thing. I'm coming to you for guidance, but I really at that time had nothing in my thoughts that says, okay, I think this is a good deal, or I think this is not a good deal. So observing him, so I would observe, the deals that we were going through. I would look at the details, see what he says right at the beginning, and then when he gives me that feedback, I will go back, look at the paper. Okay, he says there's something that's not right. Right? Or he says there's something that's right. So then I would look through it again and sort of like try to pinpoint, okay, how do I then validate that intuition, right? So it was then doing that over and over and over and over again. And then what I then started to realize is, intuition is not something that you are born with, right? But what it is it's the ability to recognize what your gut is telling you, and trusting in that, right? Because the reason your gut is telling you that is because it's pulling something from your brain, because you've seen this somewhere before. You've seen this, you've seen this somewhere before. Your brain's been processing it, and it's showing you a trend. That this kind of company with this kind of thing that you've seen before, it was always a no. Right? And it's pulling it out, and it, for whatever reason, comes more like in a gut feel, but you cannot remember what the hell it was that you had seen 5-6 years ago, right? So then it was that's how then you start to recognize your gut feel when it's a good gut feel and a bad gut feel. So that's how intuition is I think nurtured.
So it's based on your conviction, and it grows through that.
And you must be able to recognize because I think your body has a memory of how it reacts when something is good and how it reacts when something is bad, right? I think that's where that intuition
Yeah.
comes from. So, that
I love that story. Yeah.
I can, these are
Yeah.
things that, my father, he was always, he had always said this, right? Wherever you are now in life, whatever successes
Yeah.
that you have achieved, you did not achieve this alone.
Mm.
There were always people
Yeah. Yeah.
around you, people that you have learned from,
Yes.
whether directly or
Yes.
indirectly,
Yes.
people who have, taken it upon themselves to
Yeah.
look out
Yeah.
for you,
Yeah.
expecting nothing in return,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with just me being this person alone
Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to get things done. You
Yeah.
cannot get things done on your
Yeah.
own. You cannot, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's all about observing people, I
Yeah,
think, as well,
yeah.
as you try to find
Yes.
and gain your own experiences.
Yes.
Because let's be real, right? Sometimes you don't get that opportunity.
Correct. Yeah.
So then find the opportunities to observe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to
Because
learn.
it's nothing wrong learning from that, because that forms part of your
So he was, I think, my dad, he also gave me a lot of confidence, and as I said, that network of confidence, that net of confidence, I think is really important. And for anybody who's going through wanting to strengthen themselves and build that confidence, right? It's that network of relationships, the network of acquaintances, I think, really helps.
I want to switch gear a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. We've spoken about your father before, and I know he's very important to you. Do you want to tell me a little bit about him? He surfaced a few times in this. Yeah.
He surfaces everywhere. Actually, my parents surface everywhere.
Yeah.
So my dad, he passed away about 3 years, just over 3 years ago. It would have been his, let's have to calculate this. It would have been his 96th birthday. Just the weekend that has passed, the 15th of November. So, we miss him very much.
Yeah. Was that difficult over the weekend?
This time around, and I remember we spoke about
Yes.
it, right? This time around, so this is his third birthday that he's, not with us. And I don't know, maybe because we were very busy with, we had a little event. So my father, I think it was 15 years ago, he set up Azlin Arshad Ayub.
Right.
So my sister and my oldest brother, they're on the board of trustees, and they do fundraising, and we try to help with the fundraising as well. So one of the things that we do annually, that Yayasan does annually, is an art show.
Wow.
So the event was on Saturday. So
Yes.
maybe because we were busy running around,
Yeah,
and on that day itself. But that was just, you didn't really have time to deal with your emotions, right? But I remember thinking to myself, that he would have been really happy, to see all that activity going on. That was my feeling. This recent birthday of his that passed, but the previous one, the first 2 years, especially his first birthday, after he passed, right? It was, I remember getting up and I'm like, oh my God, I cannot call him to wish him, happy birthday. And it was the same thing with in the second year as well. My father was larger than life. We all thought he was going to live to be 100.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know this feeling. Yeah.
I think when he passed, it was a very hard time for all of us, because my father was, obviously the patriarch of the family. And as you probably know by now from our conversation, what he says goes. That when he tells you to do something, you do it. When he tells you not to do something, you don't do it. So
I would have loved to have met him.
Yes, actually, all my friends, my later acquaintances, after he passed away, they would have loved him. And I think the grief is always there. The grief is always there, and it was when he passed away, and I was going through that that intense grief,
Yeah.
right? I remembered feeling guilty about that grief as well, because I'm not the only one who lost my father, right?
Yeah.
My sibling, my mom, especially,
Yes. Yeah.
and it was just something that I think, what you realize is, while you are waiting for things to go back to normal,
Yeah.
um, that what was, I think, what we needed to realize was that it is now a new normal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it is a new phase
Yeah.
of our lives now. We had the phase where we have our parents with us,
Yes.
and I still have my mom.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Then so now we're in a phase where we only have my mom and not my dad, and how that's a little bit different,
How
right?
you move on
and how you move on, right, as a family unit, but always moving on as a family unit. And that was very important for us to realize that this is not about trying to get things back to the way they were. This is not about trying to get back to what it was like before we lost him, before the grief of losing him. But it's about how we just have to accept this is the next phase of our lives.
I'm glad that you said that, because you said this grief is not going to go away, and I think sometimes it's almost insulting when people tell us, you'll get over it. This is somebody who kind of formed you and is such an integral part of you. So I think that, you're going to be moving forward. You're holding that grief because that connects you with them as well. You're moving forward. What would you say to people who are struggling with this, who are going through some kind of grief? It could be loss of a loved one, could be loss of an ability, something quite drastic or painful. How would you advise them, about moving forward with this grief, but still to maintain some kind of momentum and to adjust to this new normal, using your words? How would you?
Oh my God!
Sorry, was that difficult?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I don't think I have any advice for that. And I think everyone, handles grief differently.
Yes.
We cannot assume that people will handle grief the same.
Very true.
And I think how you deal with your grief is also how, leading up to in my case, right, leading up to the death of my father, what were what was the situation for each and every individual, right? So in my case, I was fortunate enough that I was able to be with him in ICU. But because of his he had very high level of infection. It was kind of like, it wasn't double pneumonia, but it was COVID and a lung infection or something like that, So it was just he needed the highest, most potent antibiotics or something like that, which private hospitals wouldn't have, and we had to get it from, I think it was Slayang Hospital or something like that, right, to treat it. So because of that, the doctor didn't allow people to come in and out because of the risk of infection, when more people come in.
Him
infecting him again.
Okay.
So it just so happened that I was the first one to go in and see him, and that's okay. So since you've seen him, sorry, that's it. You're the only one who can go in and out. So I spent. I think it was he passed away on Tuesday, very early Tuesday morning. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 6 days. So 6 days I was in the ICU with him, right? So I had, that final moments in that sense. Physically I was the closest to him. So in my case, how I, sort of accepted the new normal was in the first place, right? That was the risk key that God gave me.
The blessing.
the blessing
Yeah.
that God gave
Yeah.
me, that I could spend time
Yeah.
with my father, because I don't live in the same house
Right.
as
Yeah.
my father, as my parents. You know, it was my sister who lived in the same house as my parents. So I had that, you know, that time with him, and I just cling on to that. I just cling on to that. I've moved on, yes,
Yes.
but I cling on to that blessing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I remembered thinking, you know, sometimes it's like, because obviously my other siblings wanted to go in, right? But they
Yeah.
couldn't, and
Yeah.
you know, it was, and I was like, you know, so thankful.
Yeah.
So thankful. It was hard to see him,
Yeah.
obviously looking sick
Yeah.
like
yeah.
that, because my father had never looked sick like that ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so when you were faced with that, it was hard. But at the same time, it was like, well, you know what, you're here with him, you're here holding, you're the one, you know, who now has been given the gift of being able to hold his hand,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
8 in the morning until midnight, sometimes
Yeah.
until 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I'll just be there in
Yeah.
the ICU with him, right? And you know, being just holding his hand. So I think if you have something to cling on, there is
Yeah.
a blessing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
God has given that to you
Yeah.
for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's also very important that you have faith. Okay, so for us as a Muslim, you know, for we will meet again
Yeah.
in
yeah.
the hereafter,
Yeah.
right? So it's also clinging on to that when
Yeah,
you've lost
yeah,
a loved
yeah,
one,
yeah.
clinging on to that. And to be perfectly honest, this is something that I have learned only in, you know, learned to sort of like accept and, you know, just have faith in that only in my later years. When I was
yeah.
younger, I was like, you know, didn't,
I mean, it's growing in your faith,
you know,
isn't it?
yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So that belief,
Yeah.
you know, that we will meet
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
I think helps you to deal with your grief.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and then another thing is, you know, when you have lost somebody that you have loved, right? Their presence in your life, you just have. How do you get used to that?
Yeah. Yeah.
That that physical presence, whatever it is, it's very important, right? Because
Right,
we're
yeah,
human beings and we
yeah,
need connection.
Yeah.
So whilst he is no longer present, so this was, I think, like maybe a month or two ago, my oldest brother mentioned it in one of our chat groups, you know, and he said that Ayah lives in all of us because of what he has taught us, and you know, and because of what he has taught us, the way we do things,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, everything good that we do
Yeah.
is because of our father,
Yeah.
you know, because of our parents,
Yeah.
you know, how they brought us up,
Yeah.
how they sacrificed for us, right? So, you know, that's how we feel that, okay, you know, obviously he's not here in this world, we will meet in another world, but he lives on through the legacy that he has left. I mean, by no means am I saying that, you know, we have an ounce of the greatness that was my father. You know, we're so nowhere near him. It's sometimes I wonder whether he had looked at his children and said, "My God, you guys are such disappointments."
I'm very sure he didn't say that. But
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, but we're just ever so grateful.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that we had the privilege
Yeah.
of being his children.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it is about finding the silver lining.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
it's just terrible. And the thing about finding the silver lining, you're not going to find it early on in your grief.
No,
Good God,
no. Not that's not the time to be looking.
That
Yeah,
is not
yeah,
the time to be looking
yeah.
at. All right. And in fact, when my father had just passed away,
Yeah.
that some of that guilt that I was feeling, right, was also about how I was so consumed by it internally. I couldn't talk about it. You know, but what I was consumed by was, you know, the fact that what's the point of living?
Oh wow.
You know?
Yeah.
He's not here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, having worked in
Yeah.
you know, the corporate world for so long, and him being my lighthouse,
Yeah,
my beacon,
yeah.
right? I always went to him for advice
Yes,
about work.
yeah.
I cannot quit work if he didn't agree to it.
Yeah. I remember you sharing
know?
this, yes.
He had to be the one that
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
yes or no.
Yeah.
Because there were instances when, after I worked for about 2 years, 3
Yeah.
years, I had another job for, and I'll go back, I'll go and have a chat with him, and he'll say no, that kind of thing. I think you
Yeah.
better stay on.
Yeah.
So I was like, and I think maybe subconsciously, my successes were also for him to be proud of, for him and my mom to be proud of, right?
Yeah.
So when, and I think I also felt at that time like, oh my God, I've lost his dua. I've lost all his prayers for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had actually made dua. I said to God, you know what? Actually, if you can forgive me of all my sins, and you can just forgive all my sins, whatever I've done, such that I don't have the burden of it when I say, you can take me now because I want to be with my dad. But that was accompanied by guilt.
Yeah.
That you ungrateful girl, you have your
Yeah.
husband, you still have your mom, you have your husband, you have your kids, you have your, your family, you have so much blessings in your life, and this is what you're asking for, But it did go on for a while, for a couple of weeks. And that was when I think he passed away in June. So in the beginning, the that thinking was very intense.
Yes.
June. So yeah. Then in October, one of my best friends called. We happened to be chatting, and then she said, "Oh, I feel like going for Umrah."
Yeah.
And I had to use leave. I had to go on my block leave, and I said, "Oh, okay, let's go."
Yeah.
Right? And I felt that I needed to go because I thought, okay, it's been going on this feeling, right?
Yes.
Which was almost, I felt a feeling of ungratefulness.
Right. So the
just-
Umrah was like a
the
pilgrimage
Umrah was like,
to say,
to like, please get me back on the right track with my
okay.
because I cannot be thinking like this. I cannot be thinking that, if you can forgive me my sins, you can take me now.
Yeah.
I had to stop that, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, so we went for Umrah. And when you go for Umrah, usually, when people say that when you see the Kaaba for the first time, you walk through the mosque and then you see the Kaaba. That's when normally the tears will come, right? One of the things for me was always like, did I do enough for my father, right?
Yeah.
And when as I was walking, we hadn't even stepped into the mosque yet.
Yes.
We was walking from the hotel, towards the mosque, and then this feeling of almost relief.
Yeah. Relief from the grief?
Relief, not relief from the, I don't know what it was, but it was just like this, I just cried, and because I was just say, okay, I'm coming, see, when you go for Umrah or you go for Hajj, right, there is, how do you say it, is it a prayer or something that you say, which is Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik? It's like, here I am, Allah, here I am.
Okay.
Coming towards house of God, right?
Yeah.
I'm here for because there's only you that I turn to. There is only you, the one God. So when I was saying that, right, here I am.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Yeah.
Help me. And then I just cried, and I didn't even see the Kaaba yet. Normally you see the Kaaba, you cry. I just cried while I was walking, and then thought about my dad, and I made dua for him. And then, okay, so when you go to Mecca, right? Like your prayers, if it's like you get 1 point here for your one prayer, there you get like 1,000 points, that kind of thing, right? So everything that you do is multiplied 1,000 times over. So whatever dua that you make, it's also multiplied 1,000 times over. And for us Muslims, when we pray for our deceased parents, right, we always pray, to please widen and brighten the grave of our parents, right? And so I made that dua, and it kind of like Sally Karim is like, since I'm here, and I'm making this dua and all this is multiplied. I was like, oh, my dad's grave must be lighted up like a football stadium. And I was crying while I was thinking that I was actually, I felt much lighter, excuse the pun, but it was a huge relief. And I just felt that, this is something that I again blessed to be able to do for my father so soon after he died. So then that was the turning point for me. And of course realizing that the best thing that I can do is to always continue making dua for my dad. It's still hard when there are moments where it's really difficult, and there are moments where you would just want to turn to him and talk to him, right?
It's like still a loss.
Especially like, I mean, sometimes I think, right, if I had told him about wanting to leave, very recently, I don't know whether he might have told me, it's like, are you nuts? Just suck it up. For another year or whatever it is. I have no idea, right? So there was also some apprehension about what he would have been, how he would have reacted. He may not have been happy at all, So when you think about moments like this, the guilt is still there, and then it comes back again to say it's like, I wish he was here for us to talk, and maybe if he was here, I would have made better decisions. I mean, definitely until now, some of the decisions that I have made regarding my career, right? Especially when I made that latest move, and then from which I now left, right? I met great people, right? So I will never regret the decision. I met such great people. But I wondered, right, if I had, when I was making that decision, I remembered thinking, oh my God, should I even be contemplating this? Because I do not have him as my counsel.
Wow.
I do not have his counsel. Right? It was tough, and I think there was still a lot of self-doubt.
But this is where you sound like you're growing your own convictions now.
Yes, right? And I think this is where, when we talk about having the next phase of your life, right, is then making the mistakes. You're not going to make mistakes.
Of course.
Right? But just, again, being confident that the way he has brought us up, the values that he has left us with, yes, there'll be up and downs. You will make mistakes, and you will have to pick yourself up and learn from them, and just get on with your life. And I think the biggest learning from my father, and I think he has said this in all of his other lectures and when he meets people and whatever not, right? I'll say it in Malay first, and then we can translate it. Because he's always said it in Malay. Whenever he shared this, right? He said, tiap kali jatuh dalam longkang, mesti bangun. Okay. Berapa kali pun jatuh dalam longkang, bangun. Kalau jatuh 10 kali, bangun 10 kali. Kalau jatuh 100 kali, bangun 100 kali. Sebab kalau tak bangun, bila hujan, akan dihanyut air.
Please translate for people who don't.
The translation would be, every time you fall, if you fall into a drain, right? If every time you fall into the drain, you have got to pick yourself up. You have got to come out, even though whatever you fell from was something horrible, was something bad, right? And you think that falling and just staying there is going to be better. It's not, right? So you have to keep on climbing out of that drain, because when you climb out from that drain, you will have an opportunity to do something. Or when an opportunity comes, you are there to catch it. If you don't, and you just stay in the drain, when it rains, right, you're just going to be washed away. And then you have no opportunities whatsoever, right? And his belief that, individuals are different, and some individuals, they fall once, they come out, they have that opportunity. Other individuals, it's 100 times, and then they get that opportunity. So that's something that I continue to believe in, and I think it's something from my dad that I love to share. Because it is very, 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 very true. And it's hard. Climbing out from the drain is not easy.
No,
it's hard. but you have to do it. You know, it's also, I think, akin to the other sayings that things will always look better in the morning. Right. In the night, when the dark comes, right, it's horrible, but the morning will come too. So that's why even in the Quran, God says, right, day will always be followed by night, and night will always be followed by day. Right. So that belief that you just have to climb out is very, I think, something that's ingrained in all of us in the family. And we try to teach our children the same thing as well, and hopefully being able to share that with others helps them with their own convictions and confidence as well.
Thank you for sharing your dad. Really, thank you. And that bit of advice, thank you. I think it will resonate with a lot of people. Your trip to Mecca has also kind of triggered, if I may, a business idea.
Yeah.
Can you maybe briefly share that? Yeah.
Okay. So before I left, my last employment, this was May this year. So at that time, I hadn't resigned yet. I suddenly felt that, oh my God, I really need to go for Hajj.
Okay.
And and that's what they say about Hajj. It's a calling.
Oh, okay.
As well,
okay.
Right?
So that feeling.
That feeling really came out, and I thought, okay, kind of like trying to manifest, going for Hajj next year. So I was looking for jubah.
Yeah. Jubah is
the long, sort of like long dress.
Okay.
Basically cannot see your shape. That kind of thing, right? It's actually very practical when you go and do your prayers there in Mecca, and then obviously to Medina as well. And I was looking around, right, and I'm like, I didn't like anything I saw, because it was either like very, very plain, which is usually what the shops that sell, all our utilitarian clothing and needs for Umrah and Hajj.
Okay.
So very simple, very plain, almost like, you use it for that Umrah one time and then you won't use it again, kind of thing. Otherwise it goes to the very fancy, fashiony stuff, right? There was nothing in between. Then I had to resort to tailoring it, right? And I'm like, why can't I just go into a shop and buy it? So I started looking on social media, on websites, all these retail websites and everything. And they just didn't have anything that I thought would be very good if you have this. It's simple, but it's still beautiful, because God already says in the Quran, right? Adorn yourself. Right. But my sort of like extension, that's adorn yourself, tapi janganlah lebih-lebih. You don't have to do
don't go over the top.
Don't go over the top, right? So that then I felt, as I was searching through Instagram retailers, etc. and everything, there's nothing like this, where it's not as plain as plain. Not as plain as plain, but also not over the top. So I started to make some, and then on my trips abroad, I started to see whether I could source for the materials.
Okay.
And then I found a tailor who could do it. I realized that, hang on a minute, I think there is a space here, a gap here in the market for this. So I've only just started production after doing like 11 to 12 prototypes. I got all my friends to do fit tests. I haven't finished, I haven't completed my fit test, but my confidence level is kind of there that I think I can start production. So my little project is going to be, selling jubah.
Fantastic.
For first and foremost, for ibadah, for Umrah and Hajj. Right? So, if people are expecting, fancy jubbahs, no, it's not that, right? So I'm trying to make them very practical as well. Because when you go to the mosque, at home when we pray, we will have the telukong, right? Which is the long cover overall on top, and then you also have a separate sort of like skirt, so to speak, a separate sarong. So it's always two pieces, and you do that so that your feet cannot be seen.
Okay.
So what I've done is to make sure that wanting to make it very practical. So the jubah is longer than normal, so that
Okay.
you can just wear socks. And you don't have
Right.
to bring your sarong,
Right,
sarong telekong,
right.
and you just put your telekong on top. You know,
Okay.
so it's like how the sleeves are designed. It's all
Right,
designed for,
right.
for practicality.
Yeah.
Very small collection that I'm starting with. You know.
It's a start.
Yeah. Somebody asked me, how are you going to sell it? Like, you know, where are you going to sell it? I'm like, I have no clue. I have no clue.
Yeah.
You know, I just registered for SSM.
Oh, fantastic.
You
Yeah.
know,
yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
And I now have to go and get it validated. I have to go to the office.
Yeah.
So I'm taking this
Yeah.
small steps.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think we discussed earlier before we started all this, right? One of the things, right, it's not just about how, okay, you do this and then that's it, right?
Yes.
For me, it was a question, it was, yeah, but then, and then what?
Yeah.
You know, if it's a
Yeah.
project, then it's a one-time thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then who does it, you know, how do I look at something
Yeah.
and do something which, one, I'm passionate about,
Yeah.
but two, where I can also make an impact to the community.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a
Yeah.
plan. I have a plan for the jubah, which is, if this works out well and the demand is very good. So obviously, because right now it's tailor-made, it's ready-made but tailor-made, right?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
not what we call the jahit bukal kind
Yeah,
of thing,
yeah.
right? It's like
It's
like
not
as if you had
factory
gone, it's not,
manufactured.
you know.
Yeah.
So it's as if you had gone to the tailor and, you know,
Yeah.
they've done it up for you per piece. But I had the benefit of working, you know, when I was in the two takaful companies.
Yes.
Under the CSR programs.
Right,
They
right.
had funded single mothers from the PPRs.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
To do, you know, they were given sewing classes.
Yes.
And it was a 12-month program.
Yeah.
At the end of that program, they were given sewing machines. So for
Oh,
those who
wow.
stayed on, not
Yeah.
everybody stayed on, but,
Yeah.
you know, for those who
Yeah.
stayed on, they were given the sewing machines. And these women, like during COVID, you know, they earned money because
Yeah,
they sewed those, what do you call it? Oh my God.
Oh, the protection.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, wow.
They
okay.
sold that.
Okay.
Then there was another project that we gave them, and they were sewing school uniforms.
Wow. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So then I thought that, okay, actually, you know, if I look at my potential supply
Yes.
chain,
Yes.
I think the pieces are there.
Yes.
It's just coming and putting them together.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, you know, so I'll start off with this jubah.
Yes.
Now, of course, there's something else that I'm looking at, but not yet. So I'll
Yes.
start off with the jubah first. But basically clothing lah, you
Yeah,
know, clothing
yeah.
and apparel. And if this works,
Yes.
right, and there is enough of a demand for
Yes.
it, then the intention is to then go to these women who have got the sewing machines, who have got the skills, skill them up a little bit more, because this is obviously,
Yeah.
you know, we got to do sulam and everything and whatnot, right? So they need to be skilled
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
and then, you know, have them as part of the
Fantastic, yeah.
supply chain,
Yeah.
and ultimately turning into a social
Yeah.
enterprise.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
You know,
Yeah.
so that's my plan. So
I
that's
love it.
the
Yeah.
then what, and
Yeah.
I would really love that, because I was having a conversation with some of my friends, right? So, you know, some of my friends who are helping me with the design of the
Okay,
labels and
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
not. And when I told them, I said, maybe I may not go back to work. This is not just a pet project, and let's do
Yeah.
something where
Yeah.
I employ people instead of people employing
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And I think that was another defining moment
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
right? I was like, you know, maybe I have to, I think I do have to recognize
Yeah.
that because of my very strong convictions,
Yes.
maybe I should set up something
Yeah.
on my own. That's
Yeah.
number one.
Yeah.
And then number two, I think this feeling of wanting to employ people was not about wanting to employ people because you can give orders,
Yeah.
but wanting to employ people to give them, you know, somewhere where they can work, somewhere where they can earn,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Opportunity.
you know, and giving them opportunities.
Yeah.
And you know, as I was talking to some of my friends, I was like, you know, because they've got a little business as well, you know,
Yeah.
doing cookies and whatever not. And I said, you know what? I said, maybe one day, I said, my company isn't even set up, but it's okay, you know, confidence level very high. The plan is, and I actually told them, the plan is, said, I will buy over,
Yes.
you know, your venture, and we will work together.
Oh, fantastic. I love
You know?
it. Yeah.
So big dreams, big plans. Let's hopefully execute it by starting small.
So I ask all my guests, this is the last question, as the last question. So I ask all my guests this. The name of my podcast is Pathways to Thriving.
Okay.
And I asked this question, what does thriving mean to you?
Oh, wow. I think it means a lot. Many, many things, I think, when it comes to thriving. One, thriving as an individual.
Yes.
And all I can say is that to thrive as an individual, I think one of the biggest things is accepting your faith in God and
Okay.
accepting that He is the best planner.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something, not that I've known this from before, no.
Yeah.
This is actually, recently,
Yeah.
after my dad
Yeah.
passed
yeah.
away,
Understand. Yeah.
and the reason that's very important for you to thrive, right? Because if you accept that whatever happens, Allah is the best planner, whatever good, whatever bad, especially when it's whatever bad,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That Allah is the best planner.
Yeah.
You cannot doubt whatever
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that He is the best planner. I think that's number one as an individual to thrive. Okay, but that's between you and God.
Yeah.
Right. And then I think thriving in your communities,
Yes. Yeah.
your family.
Yeah.
As your first, your family is your first community.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Very
and then
much. Yeah.
how you contribute to your family.
Yeah.
Whether it's emotionally.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah.
My father has always felt that, as far as my father is concerned, family comes first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And and I always like to tell this story. I mean, my siblings and I, we can fight. We're very opinionated with each other, and then it's like, behind us, like, this sibling will talk about this, we'll just like bash one another up, right? But if there is somebody who is non-family who tries to say
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
about any of us, it's like
Yeah.
we band together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's very important.
Yeah.
That what is that word? I suppose that comes from belonging.
Yes. Yeah. Like
Right?
unity. Like
Yes,
yeah.
right. So,
Yeah.
in whether it's your family, whether
Yeah,
it's community,
yeah.
whether it's your friends,
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah.
When there is a sense of belonging, I think
Yes,
that is what
yeah,
thriving means.
yeah. Yeah.
In the bigger scale of
Yeah.
not just you as an individual,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you as one person in
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a community. That's
fantastic.
that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Because I know what it feels like when sometimes you're in a group and you don't feel that you belong.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
really there are some conversations I have with some groups of friends, and I'm like, oh, actually, I don't belong.
Yeah.
There is something
yeah.
that's not right, and it's an awful feeling.
Yes.
Because
yes.
it's really an
Yeah.
awful feeling. I think that sense of belonging,
Yeah.
right? And it's something that you have to work within yourself as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
just don't expect anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, but to me, when you have a sense of belonging, that is what thriving in a community.
Yeah. I love it.
means.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Azlin, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I've loved chatting.
Oh, I've loved chatting with you. I've loved sharing. You know?
Thank you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think this episode will resonate with a lot of people.
I hope so.
Yeah. And to all the people who are watching and learning from all these amazing guests, please like, subscribe. Thank you so much. Thank
Bye.
you.